Hi, welcome. My name is Chris, and this is BullBearBrew.com. I'm actually pretty excited about today's episode, so we're going to jump right into it. Go ahead and grab your glasses. It is time to review the brew. Today's brew is Hefeweizen. For those who don't know, Hefeweizen's a wheat brewed beer. I actually didn't have these until I moved out to Portland, Oregon, and lived out there for about 5 years. Phenomenal place for microbrews, by the way. And shout out to everybody in the gang from McMinimans. I miss that. I miss the what was it, Rubinator? It was a Ruby, which is kind of like a berry beer, and a Terminator Stout mixed together. Phenomenal. Back to ours. So this is Hefeweizen. This is from a UFO, Harpoon's Unfiltered Offering is what it stands for. So from the Harpoon Brewery in Boston, Massachusetts. So UFO, give you a quick shot at the label there. There we go. And there's our little cap. Nice quick brew. You can tell it's from Harpoon. All right, so let's go ahead and give this a shot. Pop the top. A little bit of smoke off that. And the pour. A little drip, not too bad. Now this isn't, well, yeah, it's kind of got the good color of a Hefeweizen. I was going to say it looks like a little lighter initially than some of the Hefeweizens I've had. And the first one I ever had was Windmere Brothers, also out in Portland. But there we go. Now this it's got that kind of that cloudy look that a lot of Hefeweizens tend to have or do have. Little unfiltered wheat beer. The foam's not too bad. It's a nice clean white foam. I don't know if you can take a gander at that at all. But it's pretty good head to it. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. That's good. I don't know exactly how to describe a Hefeweizen though, if you haven't had it. It's a little thicker than, it's almost like an IPA, but without that little hoppiness that it's got. They're always, at least the ones that I've had so far, they always have got this nice little cloudy look to them. And they definitely have a little stronger taste than what like a Budweiser or something like that, or a typical lager. But again, if you want a nice hearty brew, a lot of times they're served with a little orange on the side, especially if you get them, and that gives a nice little kick as well. But again, this is something I really like. Hefeweizen Unfiltered Wheat Beer by Harpoon Brewery out in Boston, Massachusetts. Thanks for that. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the charts.
Okay, welcome. This is, of course, the episode for March 27th, 2011. This is BPOP. This is something I thought maybe under $3 would be interesting. It is now under $3. So as we're taking a look, the weekly looks like it could drop, and the daily definitely has. At this point, I'm looking at probably a little 20-cent gain, and that's not going to be enough. I'm looking for at least a 30% or 30 cents as I'm trying to get a 10%. So I'm going to hold off on that one for now. BSPM is new. It doesn't look like it has a ton of history on the monthly. The weekly, the daily did a little gap there. This is just too scattered right now, and since it hasn't shown up before, I just want to see what it does. I'm not even going to note it right now. Citigroup, we thought of buy it for 20. The monthly looks like it could be turning. Weekly might be hitting a bottom. And the daily, definitely has some room, but not a lot. I'm looking for at least a 40-50% gain or 50-cent gain, and it's not going to be there. So I'm going to hold off on Citibank for now. CIM, this was a buy maybe around 390. The monthly looks pretty strong. The weekly is coming back down. Daily's okay. That could be an okay buy right there. CPST, Capstone Turbine, this we were thinking, let's see, maybe at $1.50. Monthly's really strong, weekly's really strong, daily's really strong. If this thing does come down to $1.50, I think it would be good, and it potentially could. Looks like there's a bit of a downturn coming down. DRYS, monthly we thought pull back to 465. Monthly's okay, weekly's not great, but okay. Daily definitely is up, but I want to see this moving average become a floor, not a ceiling. Right now, this could really be a ceiling. So let's see how that turns out. Drugstore.com, this is DSCM. Noted this as a gap to fill. The monthly's huge, the weekly massive, massive, massive. And look at this. This is where this gap is. So until something comes back down, maybe around $2, or fills in, we'll see what happens there. For now, too hot. Eastman Kodak, still room to fall. The monthly's pegged, the weekly's pegged, daily's up a little bit, but even if it hits this little 370 moving average, it's right there. You can see that. With that gap there, I don't see it happening quite yet. So I'm gonna stay off Eastman Kodak for now. LVLT. This is one that we had actually trap set at 125. It triggered at 125 2 weeks ago. Last week, we actually got out with a 10% gain on this one, which was nice. So we will be looking to reset that trap next week. Normally I have a little cool down period before I jump back in. Because again, if you're chasing stocks and you're always like, oh, I got to get the money, you're using the wrong mindset. So I'm going to keep those comments in there and then not even look at this right now as a trade until next week when I've got some fresh eyes. 327, waiting for the floor on MTU. What that means is right now it's underneath where the moving averages are looking like ceilings. And I need them to be on floors, not ceilings. So right now they're all ceilings. So I'm going to wait for flooring on that. ODP, Office Depot, same deal. Looking for the floor. Everything's acting right now as a ceiling. So let's hold off on that one. PMI. This is a wave crash. This is one time frame just crashing into the other and pushing everything down. And it looks like that's still happening. Obviously, you can still see there was some gains there, but I could have got 10% if I bought in the beginning of the week, but it really would have been gambling. I would have been guessing. I still potentially could get a nice little, 15-cent gain. But again, why gamble if you don't have to? PRAN, $1.50 is definitely interesting on this stock, only because the monthly is so strong. The weekly, look at that weekly. This would have been something where, again, same thing if it had come down to $1.50, after a couple of days and bought like a range, which I'll show you a range in just a second. But this is something that has popped up and there's gaps and it's now starting to fill in, which is not bad, but $1.50 is really where the conservative money is going to be. RAD is one that we are currently in. This was a trap set at 105. It was triggered at 105 a couple of weeks ago. The stock is still 105 today. So it has moved a little bit, but not enough to get my 10%. So we're still stuck in that. And still potentially could get it because I'm looking for about an 11-cent gain. So even if it hits this as a ceiling, it would still be okay. RAM Energy Resources. This is the range stock I was telling you about. When we set this trap, it was at 175. That's when price was around 250, 2.25, somewhere around there. We actually triggered it at 175, and then it did bounce up. And the whole point of this was, if the stock had gone up so far, so fast, that if it did come down, just based upon what the ranges have been in the past, the odds are, if it came down that fast, that it would bounce up a little bit, given there's time remaining in the month. And it did. So you can kind of see this here. Bounced back down. We bought it around here and it bounced right back up. And it might come back down, but that's okay. I'm looking for 10%. I'm already out of it, which is nice. Sprint. This was something that we wanted a nice little solid bounce at 440. I'm kind of glad that I did not put that trap in there, but it still may not have been a horrible buy. There was a gap down that actually would have caused that to trigger if I did have that. The reason that gap down was because that's when AT&T announced they were going to buy T-Mobile, and it could be a world of hurt for Sprint. Right now, it still would have been a nice little 5% gain. And to be honest, if I had triggered that trap, I would have adjusted it and already been out at a slight profit. But for now, we're going to see what it looks like when the smoke clears. Sirius, this is, again, not bad. Perhaps we're thinking about $1.50. I'm starting to see moving averages converge. We've got moving averages as floors that we're looking like, which is also nice. The daily doesn't look bad at all. And it could be a really, 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 really good buy at 170. But I'm not going to do it, even though I was looking at it last week, partially because I'm just coming off of a few nice wins. And whenever you're hot, you want to sort of cool down a little bit because you start thinking emotionally that you can't make any mistakes. And so it's not bad to have a cooling off period. And again, if you think, man, I've got to jump in because I got to make the money, I got to keep this going, that's a scarcity mindset, not prosperity. Prosperity tells you there's plenty out there. You can take a week off. You could take freaking 6 months off if you wanted to. It's not a problem. There's plenty of money out there, and there really is. So I'm going to wait at this point until it hits 130, and I'll revisit it next week and when I've got some fresher eyes, and we'll see. Wendy's, I might have missed the bounce on this. This is something I put in. There was interest around 460 back in the middle of February. It has since fallen off the list, and then it recently came back on this past week. But it did bounce. There's that 460 bounce right there a few weeks ago. So I may have already missed this one. This right down here is where I could have picked it up, and it just, it's all right. So if this comes back down, we'll take a look next week and go from there. But again, there's plenty of stocks out there. WTSLA, wet seal. This is one we thought was in a nosedive. And now I'm looking for a gap to fill. That is primarily this right here, this little pop-up on Friday's close. So again, might be great news, and this are really going to be floors now. Maybe they are. But I want to see this gap kind of fill in. And it looks like it may not. It should. I mean, but if it does, then there might be a nice little base there around 375. So let's take a look at that next week. Needless to say, if you have any comments, definitely leave them here on the blog. I would appreciate any feedback that you have. Any questions, I'm always willing to help answer. And of course, you can see us on Facebook as well. Otherwise, we will see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching. Take care.